All righty. What's troubling you with, of course, me and
Charlene.
we have Miss Latreka Jones, and she's going to be talking about what, Latreka?
I am going to be talking about my new book, The Journey from Heaviness to Healing.
Still waiting for my soliloquy, but we're going to talk about that after.
You know, it's all right. You want to, it's already in the bag. You know, you got it. You know that.
All right. So tell us what made you write this book.
Mhm.
You know, it's just truly the journey. You know, it has been a journey like no other. You know, it's amazing how God can use, you know, our shortcomings or what we just don't know, you know, and he opened up my eyes to special needs children through, you know, mistakes and challenges that I had throughout my own personal life journey. And it just made me see not just special needs children, just, you know, just made me see them children different, period. You know, things you can easily overlook or not think twice about. It just made me begin to just dig deep in within, spiritually and mentally, and just, hey, you know, I realized once I started changing my way of thinking and the way I process dealing with children with special needs, I began to see that it's a calling. You know, it takes a special anointing. It takes a special patience to deal with children of different, you know, special needs conditions, whatever they may be. But yes, it's a blessing too at the same time, because a lot of times, yeah, they might not be, I guess if this what world we in now is fit as normal, but they're normally gifted, you know, like my, you know what I'm saying? So it's like a blessing in disguise, but you just know how to unravel the gift. You really do. So.
Well, just to dive in a little bit to your book, you made, I want to quote something, and I would like you to share with us and tell our audience what your thought was when you wrote this. You
Okay.
said, have you ever wondered what it could possibly be like for the world to see you differently from who you really are? Your every action being observed and measured from a variety of different perspectives. People
Hmm.
constantly telling you how you are different from how they are, which includes how you should behave in today's society. I thought that was powerful. So could you share with us what your thought was when you wrote that piece?
I can. I look at my son, Journey, and that is, his name, Journey, and I just have to think about it. They're always constantly like under a magnascope. Especially if the world see them as special needs, or whether it's autism, whether it's so many different types of conditions. It could be Down syndrome, whatever the condition may be. But have we really just put ourselves in their shoes? Maybe we're the ones that maybe need to be challenged or seen differently versus them, because again, a lot of times from my study and researching that I've seen that these children, they have a pretty high IQ. A lot of things that they can automatically do without thinking twice about, but yet and still they're under a constant, like a magnifying glass, and seeing how do they process, how do they think. They're constantly being challenged with their behavior. And honestly, that's a great question, because that's something that God, I believe, personally took me through to see, okay, he might not be what the world see him as. Maybe I sent him in this way as a gift, because one thing I've noticed about them, they're very lovable. If you can get in with them and build a rapport with them and take the time to understand these type of children, they're lovable. And a lot of times they're seen as normal. We quick to get tired of you, frustrated, and going by business, but it's a different bond I notice that they have. And once you can tap into that child and understand how they process and think, you realize, well, maybe you're not the one that maybe is different. Maybe it's me. Maybe I need to change some things I'm doing. So that's where that came from.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
What is the target audience that you're trying to reach with this book?
You know what, Chantel, honestly, from speaking from school teachers, educators, to corporate America, you know, as some kind of way, give and take, somebody has a child that deals with special needs or knows somebody who has a child. You know, whether it's church, whether whoever they may be. I really think it's on a broad spectrum. I truly do. I don't think it's just inside of a box. It can be from, you know, from elementary school. I had one lady, to answer your question. She called in. She said, hey, my son is getting ready to go to the first grade. They're trying to label him as this bad, misfit child, but I don't see him as only that. You know, is there a way he can get tested? Because, see, here's the thing. We're so quick to categorize them as just bad children and really just to throw them off. But sometimes it might be something seriously. They have conditions they're dealing with, and they get the correct resources, you know, and doctor's appointments, child therapy, what it may be, you will begin to see a difference in their behavior. And that's what I noticed with my son. So a lot of people, you know, your kid might not be just bad. It might be something that they can't verbally say that they're dealing with challenging mentally. And I think another reason that's why it's important, because again, if you don't tap into those resources, which are available, but a lot of people don't know about, you will mislabel your child, you know, and your child, you know what I'm saying? They'll constantly be on the wrong path. Right. So, right.
I think that's very helpful because when a lot of people, we did a live with the teachers and the people who work for the Board of Ed recently when school came back in. And one of the things that we talked about was children with special needs, you know, and with the COVID. And so not being aware of what are those service needs, not dealing with the proper service professionals, and also parents not knowing what to or who to go to seek help, because sometimes they'll be put on a label, children will be labeled due to their behavior, and really nothing has been done to test or really examine what's going on with that child, whether the child is autistic or, like you mentioned, or the child has Down syndrome. Well, Down syndrome is visible, but autism is not always is always detectable, or a child who's on the spectrum or not on the spectrum, you know, and that makes it very difficult. And I'm just being honest. African American children are labeled before they get there that they are problematic, and they're not. And sometimes it could be something else that's causing this. Also, children with ADHD or ADD, they can't keep still. They have this disorder, and sometimes they're labeled as bad kids, and they're not bad. They just need to be taught differently. You have a way to keep them in their attention span. So I think it's very good that you brought this up and being able to put it in a book sense to talk about the parent going through this. I think that is so good. And so to be able to have this in a book form, and we're gonna post the book raw, right, Chantel?
Yes.
So because we want people to get out there and read the book.
Okay? Thank you. Yes.
And I pray that it goes to an audio version, because I really believe that audio versions are good for those millennials who don't read and they like to listen to everything, right? I'm not labeling millennials, but a lot of people are on the go so much they don't get to sit down and read. So this book will be excellent as an audio book. So I pray that the Lord gives you that. And so, so that it can help parents. Again, having different tools. And I think being in the African American or even the Latino background, because a lot of times parents don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with a child who acts one way at home and they get away from you, and it's totally different. Because we have been conditioned how to manage that child when they get into an environment that's really, they're supposed to be self-managing and they can't manage. Because it's such a chaotic environment. So I think it's very good. So thank you for writing this. This is very good.
No problem. Because everything you just said, that was really my reasoning behind writing the book. Because a lot of people don't talk about it.
No, they don't.
You know,
They don't.
Oh,
And they
Trika.
go through the system in silence,
Yes,
because there's a stigma.
it is.
Mhm.
It is. Kind of like counseling. People say, oh, we don't do that in our family. We don't do that in our culture. But quite as it kept, is statistics show counseling is very effective.
Yes,
It is.
yes.
Very effective.
Mhm.
Especially in the African American and Latino community,
Absolutely.
to be able to talk about those secrets. And I think, again, having children with special needs, again, has
Mhm.
such a stigma.
It does.
And sometimes parents look at it as it reflects them, but it doesn't reflect
Mm-mm.
them.
It doesn't.
It
You
doesn't.
know, it's
It
just
doesn't.
God gave you a special child to deal with in
Right.
a special way.
Right.
And
Well said.
it takes a gifting. It
It
takes a
is.
gifting, and God has blessed you with the gift to
Mhm.
care for a child and to help that child maneuver and to become a healthy adult. And they can, and they do.
Absolutely.
It's
That's
just how
right.
to nurture it. And I just think that your book helps to depict that. And I think that's very good.
Praise God, because again, that's what I wanted. Because, like you said, and like I said, a young mother recently contacted me, and she felt kind of like not shame, but it's almost like, did I do something wrong? You're quick to point the blame towards yourself, but no, don't look at it as a problem. Look at it as a blessing.
Right.
If you look at it, it's just all in how you see it, your perspective. So, but yeah, a lot of times it's why it's misdiagnosed as well, is because you just continuously just to think, oh, he's just a bad kid. She's a bad kid. He's a bad kid. No, this kid actually might be dealing with something, just truthfully don't know how to explain,
Right.
what
Verbalize it.
verbalize exactly what their true needs are. So, and that's what made me step out too, because a long time, and a lot of times too, you don't want to accept that your child may process differently.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's nothing wrong with that. Your child may take longer to complete certain tasks or view it in a different way, but that's okay, because where they might be not in that area, but I'm telling you, it'll blow your mind how they can articulate in math or writing or reading, because God gives them gifts as well, so don't just focus on what you might see as lack or as a negative, because God can use that in a positive, and he does. So, but that's something I just want to touch on, because a lot of feedback I'm receiving is parents are in denial. Oh, I know it's nothing wrong with my child. It can't be, and even if it is, it's still okay.
Right.
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 You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah.
And I think you
Oh.
solidify that in the book where you mentioned here, you said if you believe that things happen for a reason. It's not that, that you need to feel ashamed or it's stigma or anything like that. Everything happens for a reason.
It does.
And with that reason, there's something that's going to come out as a blessing for you and
Right.
the world.
That's true.
World. They're blessed.
And I just tell you, with you saying that, I can tell you honestly, with me, God taught me patience. I
read that. You said that in the book.
I kid you not. I kid you not. And that's something my 104-year-old grandmother says. She said, you sure have a lot of patience. She said, but God taught me that, even through the journey of me raising my special needs son. And overall, it has made me a better person. Because it makes you more patient, not just dealing with your children, but in life itself, dealing with work and dealing with things that come with life. So all around 360, like you said, it makes you better. So God was showing me something in me that needed some improvement and change.
So I would ask you this, Trika. What advice do you have for a parent who's going through this right now? Who thinks something is wrong but doesn't want to believe something is wrong, but they see the writing on the wall. What's the first step they need to take?
I think the first step, what I would say, that just sit down and just think about it first. Think things through. 9 times out of 10, if you kind of already have an intuition of something is different, trust your gut feeling, because most likely it is. And and do not overreact. It's not uncommon if your child may have a special needs or a different type of condition, but that will be my first thing I will honestly say, is just sit back and reevaluate why you're thinking what you're thinking. Because 9 times out of 10, it could be something there that sometimes the teachers and the doctors may not see from the beginning. But as a parent, we're with them all the time, right? So we know, and but that's what I would do. I would recommend that they, whatever they're thinking about, that have crossed their mind, and it's normally for a reason, call your doctor. Call the primary physician, because the doctors also have access to different resources, to counseling, play therapy, getting an evaluation, which is normally the first thing that they will recommend. Sometimes it's a long waiting list for the child to be evaluated, but there are resources and steps even around that. By talking to the right people, such as your doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, things, your counselor. But that's what I would do. That would be my first step, is trust your instincts. My second step is I will look into it further by contacting a specialist or a professional like a doctor or something like that.
And see, with all the knowledge you have now, you mentioned in your book, sometimes it takes connecting with others to see and know what we will be feeling and needing. Unless you sometimes, and I work in the field of counseling, and I know sometimes people always ask the question, well, have you been this? Have you experienced this? And I think that's irrelevant. But there are certain times in life that we do need to be able to become transparent to someone else. We have to have gone through that for really to show empathy and to empathize with that person who may need for somebody else to understand what I'm going through right now. And in your case, you are able to do that. And that's what you said in this sentence here, that it takes connecting with others. Sometimes they have nobody else to talk to. Like you said, going to the doctor and doing all these other things, those are external forces. They're not somebody who can identify with what I'm going through right now. But you have been graced with the blessing to be able to identify with others. And to help other mothers, even fathers, because fathers take care of children too.
Correct. It's so true.
To go through this process and understand what it took to have a child who has autism, and to kind of go through the process and talk about your feelings.
It's needed.
Because again, it's a trying. It is trying, and
it's
so parents who have not been through that, they don't understand. They just say, "Well, yeah, take a child to the doctor, or make sure you get this done. Oh, do they need medication? And again, it's more than that.
It is. It's mental, it's emotional, it's physical. It is. And like you say, for the parents, sometimes you just need your time.
That's right.
Right.
And in that, and so my question was, you gave the title of the book is From Heaviness to Healing. Okay. Give us just an abridged version of how do you go from the heaviness, what does that look like, to where you are today, the healing.
And I want to say this part. I saw treatment in Germany when it was heavy.
Yes.
And to this point, it's totally different. It's like night and day.
I want people to hear when they're watching this video that it's a journey, and it's a journey about a child. And not only the journey about the child, it's also reflective of how it has impacted the parent.
Right.
Yes.
And there is light at the end of the tunnel.
It is. That's the great news.
And to birth a child and to bring a child into the world is supposed to be a happy moment.
Right.
We love the baby.
Right.
But then we have to deal with the other stuff that comes along with that. And so
that part.
About that heaviness, right? And that's what I read in the very beginning, where you were talking about him and his leg, and you were rubbing his leg down, and you were praying and seeking God and calling the devil a liar, and as you talked about, and the emotions that went through that.
Absolutely.
Part of the heaviness. But I want you to talk to the audience a little bit about experiencing that, and just give us an abridged version, because I want you to tell all the story of the book, because I want people to buy the book. Okay. So, because you tell them the whole story, they won't buy the book. So,
Right.
I want them to buy the book, but I want them to hear your heart about the book because there are people who are going to watch this. They're sitting in silence,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who will
Mm-hmm.
find light by purchasing your book. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's share with me.
Well, I honestly, I'm gonna tell you how powerful it was for me being realizing journey, being a child that was on the autistic spectrum, and me as a parent. Because again, like I say, like you say, transparency transforms,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it begins to, God is so amazing because even in the journey with my son, God began to put the mirror on me, and like I said, made me begin to see some different things within myself. And once he aligned those things according to his will, it was so much easier for me to adapt in being a parent of a child with special needs. Because like you say, you're so busy with your work schedules, you're so busy, whether you're married couple, single parent, single father, whatever the case might be. You might be a grandmother or auntie raising a special needs. It could be in any category. So, and that's all, that can already be stressful, at times. So, but God, I'm telling you, just to answer your question, the heaviness was being a single mom at the time, really in denial, because again, with autism, the spectrum is so broad where you might have a child that doesn't have any type of speech deficiencies, but maybe you notice that it's a glare in their eye, and that's another reason why you want to go get your child tested, because there's so many different factors that can fall into play with that. So I was like, well, no, my child, he can do regular stuff, so he got to be fine. But I noticed that it was a delayed reaction in how he did certain things. So but again, in the process of it all, I had to really you have to sometimes just face reality. This is the life, like you say, God is entrusting me to raise this child for a reason. You might not be able to go as much as you used to. Maybe you're going to slow down and have to kind of go to more therapy, counseling sessions, doctor's appointments, whatever it takes. But the beauty of it is, but in the process of it all, God is so faithful that whatever you thought you lost in that time or whatever you missed that for, he will definitely pay it back to you on the end, even better than what you even imagined. So, yeah, you're going to go through it, of learning your child, learning how to, interact with the child as far as, whatever, again, everybody in the situation is different. And it's going to take patience. It's going to take attention to detail. Even at the schools, you're going to have to probably have art meetings, which is something you want to do. Because again, if the school is not aware that your child is a 501 or they, have special conditions, they can easily not understand them and not know how to deal with them in a classroom setting. So, but there are resources again in place that if your child do have one of these conditions, that the schools won't be quick to just say, hey, we can't do this. They will literally come together and collaborate a plan for your child to help you and your child during that process, to let you know you're not in this by yourself. They might can provide psychological classes that you may not be able to. So the resources are there, but you will have to do your work, and sometimes that work is many times I cried. I'm going to be honest with you. I've cried many a night saying, God, I don't know. I had to, he had to break me down and say, hey, you got to trust me in this. Because I didn't know. Because a lot of times, your child may have triggers or sensories or whatever, just scream out of nowhere and you don't even know why. So it's almost, to me, it's like you got to have it takes a special person. But the beauty of it is, if you just follow God's lead and you completely commit yourself to raising that child, I assure you, I'm a living witness that God will bring you both out. Both out. And a lot of times children that deals with these conditions, sometimes it don't last always. It might be just temporarily, just a season, a few years of their life. And as they get older, they might grow out of it.
Wow, that's good. That's good. So, Chantel, you have a question? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did you go to any support groups for yourself? Like what kind of
Absolutely.
support groups did you go to?
Absolutely. I went through, we have, at my church, we have a great support group. And I'm noticing that a lot of organizations are doing this as well. We have a support group, not just only for our children, but for the caregivers,
Mm-hmm.
the parents, the grandparents. And it's just a place where you can go, whatever's been stressing you out,
Mm-hmm.
you can go and vent. Someone to listen to what you have to say,
Okay.
or to answer questions you may have. Even they even had a lot of counselors that was in class with us,
Mm-hmm.
psychologists or therapists, just different walks of professions that's used to dealing with children. And even parents with special needs kids. So a lot of support, but that is definitely to answer your question. Yes, I definitely went to support groups, and I did the one. I used the one at my church, and
Mm-hmm.
it made a huge world of difference for me to be able to just put that weight down,
Mm-hmm.
and just be able to talk to other parents and caregivers that's going through the same thing, and it helped tremendously.
Okay.
So you mentioned in the book, I'm trying to reflect to the book here.
Okay.
When you talk about, and I like the fact, let me just show this because I like this.
Okay.
For every chapter that you start off with, you give a road.
Mm-hmm.
You give a road. And so
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask about what this, trying to find the picture. For every chapter, it starts off with the road and the journey. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What is the symbolism for the road?
Well, the symbolism of the road is every road is different. It might be an easy day this day. Every day you didn't have any problems at all on this particular road. You went through every light that you needed. It got to where you was going in time. It wasn't any delays, any detours. But then again, as the more you travel down that road, you might come to some bumps in the road. You might encounter some challenges. You might encounter some dead ends. So what I'm saying basically, and I'm glad you asked that question, don't think this is going to be a one beat song, because you're going to go up to different frequencies on these roads for raising
Mm-hmm.
special children.
Yeah,
Just to be honest. So you might as well buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Right.
that's good.
Because it's going to be challenges.
It's going to be challenges. And you know that you said at the end of, in your closure of the book, it says a journey from happiness to healing, why you can't give up. It's not easy being different.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to understand why you need autism spectrum, gifted, talented, autistic, special needs, wonderfully made, unique people of God? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a great question. You know, and again, I don't want to tell the whole story because I want people to go buy this book. I want people to go buy this
But
book, okay?
what Trika
And
didn't say is that Journey also preaches. So Journey
Yes.
has a calling on his life too. So
Yes. That
Journey
that
is
one.
a
may be why
preacher.
he gets fought. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. He does. And I tell you, listen, we can be in a grocery store anywhere and he draws a crowd. He might see one thing in a person and he goes up to them. Even my grandmother, he loves to go and just pray over her. He has a heart for people. Yes, ma'am. That's why I say, and you never know who you're raising. Don't just look at the outer appearance of what's so-called a condition, because one, that may not always be their condition.
Right.
Okay. And two, even in the midst of that child you're raising, you never know how God is going to use them. Because yes, Chantel, he loves to preach.
Mm-hmm.
He loves people. It's been times where I've been like, oh, I'm tired. I had a long day. I just want to go home and get in my bed and take a nap. Listen, I'm just being honest. But he was like, no, mama. I'll give you one example. We was leaving a store in Dallas near the like M Street, downtown Dallas. And one of those days, a busy day, by 5 or 6 o'clock, traffic galore. They had a busy day today. I'm getting in my car, leaving the parking lot. He say, Mama, I see that homeless man, and I just know he needs something to drink. And I'm like, really, Journey? He was like, Mama, I know you're tired, but I just really think that this man, you will just do something for him if you just turn around. And I kid you not, I'm at the parking lot getting ready to get into a lot of 5 or 6 o'clock traffic. But I just was so compelled because I do believe God also speaks through children.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just so compelled where I said, I'm going to go ahead and leave. Before I knew it, I turned around and I took him a drink. And he was just like, Mama, like, you would thought he was a parent because the way he applauded me for doing such a good job. But it touched my heart. I was like, my God, because we so easy to be in our own world, but sometimes it takes, a special, I wouldn't say a special needs child. It takes a special heart,
Mm-hmm.
to see how we can be better.
Sometimes God has to slow you down to show you what needs to happen.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's going to make you a better person.
Right.
Yeah.
You might be raising them, but they're
Raising
in
us.
so many words, they're raising us.
Mm-hmm.
They're helping us to be better.
Right.
You know what word came to me, Latreka, when you said that
Mhm.
you're raising them, but they're pruning us.
Yes, that's it.
Pruning us. They are creating in
Well
us
said.
something new,
Yes.
and there's something that you needed to be pruned for,
Yes, Lord.
so
Mm.
that it's higher than where you
Yes.
are right now. So that's
Yes.
what I heard when you said raising a child. It's pruning us to be different, and I just think all circumstances of our
My
lives,
spirit
we all
received that. Yes.
circumstances that help to prune us.
Yes.
Because
Mm-hmm.
when we're children, we're one way. When we become adults, we're not ready for that,
Mm-hmm.
which he's calling us to. So he gets situations and circumstances to prune
Mhm.
us next. And I just think that, what you just said was something to help, these are gifts and talents are not just for ourselves,
Right.
they're for the world. Therefore, like the 3 men that were given the talents, they were given to change, to share them with the exchangers. So we
That's
don't
right.
keep them ourselves. We have to take them out and do something with
Yes.
them. And so
Yes.
your gifting and what he's giving you, the blessing he's giving you with Journey, is not just for you. It's
It's
not
not.
just a journey, it's for the world.
It's
And
for
so I just think that's just awesome that
it's
you
for the
were able
world.
to give a calling and do this. This is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It is. That's exactly right. Because think about it too. Even with COVID, it seemed like a lot of people began to explore and tap into gifts that God has given them until he had to shake the world upside down.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes sometimes pain or however you want to word it, disappointment or isolation or whatever it takes you to push through for God to take you to what he has for you. So now, like you said, it's a pruning or a purging to make me better, to make me have a new set of eyes. Because I kid you not, I have a heart. You can't help to have a compassion for something, especially if it affects you personally,
Right.
because you know what it's like.
That's right.
You live it,
That's right. That's right. That's right.
and you want to help because of that.
You want to help.
Mm-hmm.
I just,
Absolutely.
as you were talking, I was getting something else. So you wrote another book. Okay. I don't want to push this book out. So
Okay.
I'm able to promote your other book as well. You talked about Beautifully Bruised,
Yes.
okay, which is crushed for Christ. And so, listen, hey, you readers out there who are watching this, I want you to pick up this book. Today we're talking about Journey. Her son is Journey, and the journey from heaviness to healing. We want you to get this,
Yes.
but Latreka is not just a one-shot deal, and the Lord has dealt with her in a whole lot of other ways as well.
Yes.
So there's another book here, I'm sorry, that is called Beautifully Brewed.
I'm waiting
Yeah.
for my soliloquy on this one too.
You know, you got it.
What'd you say, Chantel?
I'm waiting for my soliloquy because she knows.
Now she know it's coming, so she ain't got to worry about that. We just both been so busy, but you know it's coming. Both of you is coming.
So
Okay.
we want you to be able to people to buy the book, and especially for those parents or families who are dealing with special needs children, we want you to be able to have some comfort
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she provides in this book, a whole lot of comfort and some encouraging words and some moments of transparency for you to
Yes.
be able to see yourself and find peace for yourself as well and encouragement.
And
Um,
balance.
uh,
Yes.
and some guidance, yes, and some
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
guidance. Latreka, why don't you give us, as we get ready to wrap up, why don't you give us a summation of just your book and some encouraging words for those who will be seeing this video?
Also, Trika, I want you to talk about your segment on NBC 5 this past
Oh,
Saturday.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you. Well, I definitely want to just encourage the listeners to let them know that you are not alone. You are not. You know, sometimes, like I say, when we're faced with obstacles and challenges, we don't know what to do, who to call, but you're not in it by yourself. I was once in the same place where you are now. And just know that in my book, I'm going through the same thing. But as I went through it and as where I'm at, God has blessed me to be where I am now. It was a process, but it's so much better. Like Chantel say, I've even had people tell me, girl, you don't even look the same anymore. And it's not just the physical, it's just you can see heaviness on a person when they're going through and different things of that nature. So I just want to encourage you to know that you are not in this alone. God did not give you that child to leave you alone. He gave you that child for you. He trusted you. It had to be something inside of you that he felt like he can trust you to raise these children. Like I say, and I don't see them as just special needs. I really call them special hearts. So it had to be something within you that he felt like he can trust you. So see it as a gift. See it as a privilege, because it's all in how you see it. If you see it as heaviness, if you see it as something that's, oh God, why me? That's the wrong perspective. Look at it, okay. Try not to. Right. See it as God saw me fit to be able to carry on this role. Okay. And no, God would not give you that if he felt like you couldn't handle it. And he would not do that if he wasn't going to provide the help that you need. So stay encouraged. There are many, thankfully, I'm seeing more and more resources that's becoming available in your school systems. You can contact your schools, you can contact your churches. It's community centers that can provide you with different resources and connections to people that can help you, your doctors. You know, so there are a plethora of different people that you can utilize to help you through your journey with raising that child. Well, that can be the gift that you're raising that's going to affect the world in a positive way. So I just want you to stay encouraged with knowing that. And also, on this Sunday on Cozy TV, COZI TV, 5 o'clock, they're going to be airing more information about my book, as well as helping people that needs help with resources and different connections to help you with your children. Or if you know somebody, it don't even have to be a child. It could be a special hearts or special needs adult, you know, that needs assistance as well. So we will be providing some additional information of assistance that can help you if you can tune in and watch that.
Now, what station, what channel is Cozy TV? Because this is my first time hearing about Cozy TV.
It's different channels, and it just depends on really where you're located. Okay. I can't really tell you. I mean, I just know, just check your local listings.
Okay.
You know, you can Google your TV guide, but I do know the name of the station is called Cozy, COZI.
Okay.
I know it's an affiliation owned by NBC Television. So when you see Channel 5, you should see Cozy TV as well.
Okay.
And I know it's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as well.
Okay.
Cool. Well, hopefully, if you give me extra information about that, send it to Chantel so she can post it so people can watch it as well.
I definitely will.
We enjoyed you. Chantel, you want to wrap this up?
Yes, I enjoyed having you.
Great conversation.
And I thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
And y'all can hear my child in the background. We can just ignore her. But Latreka said, hey there. So thank you, Miss Latreka, and we will see you next time.
Absolutely. Stay blessed.
All right. Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye.
People need to know this.
Wait a minute. Hold on.